Go ahead.
Can we just get your thoughts on the new format? Watching the games last night, nobody was able to pick up 3 points on the MLS side. So just your thoughts on how each game, like Dago said, each game seems like a final, but it's also one where you can probably, if you get a draw, you're still alive a little bit, but if you get a win, you really move yourself up to the top there.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting format because in a way, I know you're playing against your direct opponent, but you're not competing against your direct opponent when it comes to the broader tournament. So it makes it interesting, and I think as the tournament goes along and you get into the second and third games and the points start to play themselves out, it's going to be interesting how teams approach each of these games. Again, because you're not necessarily playing against that direct opponent, you're just trying to win the game. So I think it can lead to some games being quite open. It can lead to teams really pushing heavy to just try to accumulate points, and I think that's going to continue to play out as the second and third games come around. I think in these first games, everybody's just trying to get off to the best start that they can and bank some points as we get going. It's interesting from my perspective as somebody who's grown up in U.S. soccer and MLS and everything, and I watch these games, my natural instinct is to kind of root for the MLS teams. And I catch myself going, wait, we don't want the MLS teams to acquire points because we're competing with those guys directly, not necessarily within our group. So it's been interesting shifting my dynamic in my mind a little bit that way as well in terms of just the bigger picture of the tournament. So, but I do think as these games play out, it's going to be interesting to see how open they get and how teams really are trying to push for 3 points because it's necessary for them to stay in the mix to try to get into the quarterfinals and all that stuff. So it should be intriguing. Until we play, I'll have a better sense of what it meant to us as a group, but we're just going out and we're trying to play the best game we can, execute, and get the results. And that's the conversations that we've been having as our group. It is about the results when you're in a tournament like this and the way it's structured.
How did Friday's game affect preparation for this one? Because, you were there to play a game, you didn't play it, and you traveled back home. I'm sure you gave the guys about a couple of days off, maybe a day off. So did that impact anything?
Yeah, it throws off a little bit of the rhythm that we were in because we were playing games. We were obviously I think in a pretty good form in terms of our playing and keeping guys going. And then you go and you take a trip to Houston, you sit around for hours. It's tiring for the guys just to be sitting, waiting emotionally up and down. Are we going to play, not play? There's a lot there. And then you fly back and you really don't get any work in on those couple of days just because now you're recovering from coming back from the trip and you don't get a game in. So it does break the rhythm up a little bit. And then it does give us a chance maybe to rest a little bit and try to attack what's going to be a really busy time period. We have 4 games, I think, over the next 14 days. And if you continue in the tournament, they just keep coming every 3 days or so. So maybe it gives us a chance to have reset a little bit physically. But I think in terms of the rhythm of games, it would have been nice to have played that game in Houston just to keep the process kind of underway.
You have a good stretch again at home in the first 3 games here, and I think the first 2 back in league play. How important is that for the group as well?
I think it's really, really important. I think we've got to try to rebuild some momentum. Good last result in the final minutes at LAFC. We don't play in Houston. I think, again, being at home, the objective here is to try to gain some momentum through some of these games. They're going to be all really challenging games. The tournament games are always, as you said, are going to be unique and special with new opponents that we've never really seen before. But our goal here is to try to make the best out of our stadium and our beds and being at home with our families and with our fans and try to do one result at a time, but build some momentum as we move into the next phase of both this tournament and the league.
We'll go to Zoom. Orlando, go ahead.
Gracias. Muy buenas tardes, profesor Orlando Castaño, Servicio Informativo en Deportes aquí en la Ciudad de México. Preguntarle qué tan complicado va a ser mañana este partido que va a tener contra Tijuana. Ustedes ya van avanzados, ya tienen un buen ritmo de juego. Tijuana cambió de entrenador y viene también jugando, haciendo buenos partidos. ¿Cómo visualiza el partido de mañana y qué tan importante es sacar un buen resultado? De lo que habló en la primera pregunta, de que el formato es diferente y hay que ganar o ganar para seguir vivos en esta Leagues Cup. Gracias.
Coach, how are you feeling in preparation for tomorrow in comparison and what your thoughts are on Club Tijuana? Given that you're settled in, you've been the coach of this team for quite some time. Tijuana has a little bit of a different situation. How do you feel about the new format as you go into tomorrow with in terms of the group stage going into the knockout stage, the difference this year? How do you feel about that change and in general going into tomorrow's first match?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think first, as we take a look at Tijuana, it's not a huge sample size. I think they've played three league matches this year. Watching them play has been interesting. They've been really compact defensively. They haven't really been extending themselves too much in terms of their pressure around the field, and they've really stayed together, almost conceded the first and second zones on the field, and really stayed compact, defending their half the field, and like a 4-5-1 kind of a block in which they've taken a lot of space away from their oppositions, and it made it difficult for teams to break them down. And they've played on the transition, they've played for their moments, set pieces, things like that. So again, if they can continue to play in that way as they come to our place, it's going to be a challenge for us to try to finish our attacks, to try to move their pieces around. They at times will put 5-6 guys in the back line and really keep you in front of them. We don't want to set ourselves up for transitions in the other direction by losing the ball in bad ways or not finishing our attacks when the opportunities present themselves. So, we've got to find ways to try to hurt them through our possessions, find moments where we can get at them in transition, and then defend them, manage the transition moments ourselves defensively. And then again, when they're in possession, is really try to contain and control, their movements. They're good players. They've got some quality on the field. Try to keep them out of dangerous areas. So I look forward to it. It's going to be an interesting challenge. We'll see if they approach the tournament the same way they've approached the league. We're a different opponent than the ones that they've obviously played, but I know as they establish sort of their identity going into this part of the season for them, it'll be interesting to see if they come out with the same sort of plan and objective against us. So I look forward to it because these games are always challenging. The approaches tactically are always interesting, and the opposition and the players that we play against are not guys that we see all the time, and so those guys will bring new challenges to our players. So I look forward to that. As far as the league structure, I think it's interesting. I don't know yet if I love it or don't love it, but I think it really sets into motion that you are really playing to win the game and try to maximize your points on the day, because you're not playing against your direct opponent when it comes to getting into the next round. So I think it encourages each team to really try to figure out how to get the best result on the day to get a win. And then if you get into the draw scenario, then you're playing for the second point in a penalty shootout type of scenario, which also becomes a sort of a new wrinkle that you don't see in a regular season. So I think it'll be interesting. I'll have a better opinion as we get through this process a little bit, but watching the games across yesterday, and then we'll see more today, I think it really, you see that each team is pressing to try to take maximum points. And I know that's normal, but sometimes in the league, taking 1 point isn't the worst result, especially on the road or in certain situations. Here, you want to try to take 3 if you really want to get through to the next round.
Recordatorio, la traducción está disponible en Zoom, seleccionando a la opción de idioma. Reminder, translation is available via Zoom. Last question goes to Alex.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for your time. As you've talked about a lot with this format, you guys need maximum points. Just talk, how much has, the emphasis of closing out games been discussed among the team? I think we saw yesterday Columbus was winning 2-0. Game gets tied, then they lose on penalties. So they drop a lot of points. How much have you guys talked about being able to maximize the opportunities within those 90 minutes and, avoid a situation that the crew kind of found themselves in last night?
Yeah, it's a big part of this event, and I think it's one of the things that we as a team have to also mature upon as we've gone through this course of the season. I think we've done a little bit better in terms of, you look at LAC, we fought back and got a point out of it, but there have been some games over the course of the year that we haven't done the necessary things to take the result that I think deserved, or we could have we could have achieved in the course of a day by mistakes, by not closing out games. I think of San Diego away. I think of St. Louis away. These are points we gave up in the final minutes, and so this is one of the things, if we want to be serious contenders in this tournament, that we have to find ways once we get on top of games to make sure that we close out games, that we make mature decisions, that we understand how to play for a result and not just play the game. And I think that's one of the things that you see from the teams that come from Liga MX is there's a savviness there about how they approach the game and how they find results. Even sometimes I would say that we watch some of the teams and they don't necessarily play or have their best day, but they're finding a way to get some result out of the game that was maybe better than their performance on the day. So I think that's going to be a really important aspect of this tournament, and you're going to see it all across the tournament is teams having to find the appropriate methods and ways to see out a game and make sure that they take points. Because this game, like I said, this is just purely about points. It's not about again, direct opponents on the day. So it becomes really interesting in how everyone approaches it.
Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you.